This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. It's a Theory Thursday, and I love music theory. I'm so delighted to bring this lesson series to you. In this lesson, we are specifically looking at the Aeolian mode, also known as the natural minor scale. The Aeolian mode is the sixth mode of the major scale. It's also the natural minor, the Aeolian mode. That's our relative minor. That's where we get our relative minor key in relation to a major key. So we've learned about these sorts of things before when we've worked on the chords and the modes and how the chords come out of the modes to create different chord progressions. Our melodies come right out of these scales. So the natural minor scale starts on step 6 of the major scale, and that's where we get our relative keys. So if we were in a major key, for example, we could have C major, which would have no sharps or flats, but if we start on A, which would be step 6 of the C major scale, we could play those same notes in the key of A minor. And so that's generally where this comes from, though we've learned about other minor scales that exist as well. So far we've worked on Dorian and Phrygian, because those are modes that come out of the major scale. But in this lesson we're looking specifically at the Aeolian scale, or the natural minor. It has a root, a 2, and then the minor third or the flatted third, 4, 5, so that perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and then it's got the flatted 6th or minor 6th, and then it's got the flatted 7th or the minor 7th. And so in remembering the notes or the alterations of this mode compared to the major scale, we just remember that it's got a flat 3, flat 6, flat 7. And that creates our natural minor scale, or our Aeolian mode. And let's go ahead and look at how we play this all along the fretboard. So we have looked at the major scale early on in the Theory Thursday lessons. I did a deep dive into unlocking the fretboard through how we play the major scale in what I consider to be the very best scale system there is for the guitar. And if you haven't checked out those lessons, you may want to. There's several of them that just go through understanding the guitar through the major scale. It super relates to this. We're starting to find out, and we've seen as we've been doing the modes on these Theory Thursday lessons of the major scale, that we have these same 5 positional forms, which I've got written out in 2 different ways here. We've got these same 5 positional forms that we can use to play any of the modes of the major scale. We just have to start on the right place. We have to start on the note that'll be the root for that particular mode. It's also helpful, though, to look at the single octave form, which we're going to do first, and how those connect together to create this mode. So over here, option A as our single octave scale. I'm going to stick my index finger on the A note, so I'm going to do this in A minor, which will have no sharps or flats, but I'm just going to demonstrate this in A minor. Got that A on the 5th fret of the 6th string, and I'm going to play scale form 1 there. Sometimes in these lessons I've worked through the arpeggio as well. If you went through every other note here, you're just going to get a minor 7th arpeggio, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7. We did that in the lesson with the Dorian, so I'm not going to repeat that here for the most part, but you could play through that arpeggio after playing through the scale if you wanted to. So it works just like that. Now, if I take this form, I have the single octave form on those sets of strings, that set of strings, those 3 strings, and move it to another set of strings, or a string set. If I take everything and move it 1 fret higher, or 1 string higher, sorry, if I stay in the key of A, I'm going to stick my index finger at the 12th fret of the 5th string, and I can play that same scale form there. So I just took everything 1 string higher. I could do the same by taking everything another string higher with my index finger on the A that's on the 4th string, that's at the 7th fret, and I can play that scale form again. Now, note that as we're doing this, when we get to the 2nd string, we have to go 1 fret higher with everything to compensate for the fact that the tuning between strings 2 and 3 is 1 fret less than it is between all the other strings that are adjacent to each other. So I have to shift up to account for that. But we have that Aeolian mode form right there, or natural minor. Then I can do the same thing if I go up 1 more string. I stick my index finger on the 3rd string, I got the A at the 2nd fret, and I can do it again, shift up, and I've got that Aeolian mode. Now I can play pieces of it. If I continue on to the next string, I've got my index finger at the 10th fret on that second string, and I can play just that much of it. Or on the high string, where my index is at the 5th fret, I've got just that much of it. I could alternatively come lower, so if I played everything sort of in reverse, if I bring my finger down to the A on the 5th string, I have just a piece of it there, and then just a piece of it on that low 6th string. So I can play pieces of this as well. And of course, there's more things I could show of how you can shift from one string to the next, or all along the same string, using that single octave form. If you check out those lessons on that major scale, it goes through that, as does the Theory and Technique method book, that the new edition that is about to come out, which does a deep dive into this and many, many, many more things. But we've got scale form A there, that single octave form. Let's look at the alternative form, or form B. So if I put my pinky now on the A that is on the 6th string, so at the 5th fret, and I can play this form here. And I could arpeggiate through with all of these as well, but I'm not going to take the time to do that because we have worked on that minor 7th arpeggio before. But I can take that scale form and transfer it to the higher strings. So if I take my pinky, put it at the 12th fret, I can play through this form here. Noting that when I get to that 2nd string, I've got to go 1 fret higher. So I did that. You can shift up or catch it with your middle finger, either way. So I can take it another string higher. Notice that I shifted up by a fret when I got to that 2nd string, and then shifted back down as I came back to the 3rd string. So that's where I've got the complete octaves. I can continue higher. I've got the A at the 14th fret on that 3rd string, and I could play just a piece of it there. Of course, I got the A at that 10th fret on the 2nd string, and I can play a piece of it there. And then I got that one note on that high string. And I could bring it lower as well. So I've got my A. If I bring my A to the A that's on the 4th string, or to the A that's on the 5th string, and then I've got my just that one A note there on the 6th string. So that's how those work. Now we can connect them together to create positional forms that fill out the entire fretboard, and this is so awesome. I've got it drawn up here in 2 different ways. Let's just go ahead and take a look first at this one over on the right side, which is drawn nice and big, so I can just demonstrate how this works. With this one, it's really easy to see how we're combining the single octave scale forms to create these full-on positions. So with number 4 on bottom, we start with form A, and if I demonstrate this in the key of A, I've got that right there with my index finger on the 5th fret of the 6th string, and I've just got that form A single octave there. When I get to that high root, I'm going to switch to continue in the position to form B. Now we don't have form B written on this particular string set, but it is form B. So from right there, I have form B of that single octave scale. And then once I get to that top string, I actually have room to play a piece of form 1. And I can do that. Now with this one, I don't have any room to play below where we started, but with some of them you do. In following this approach to creating these positional forms, we end up with 5 positional forms that fill out the entire fretboard. Now, these 5 positions directly correlate with the other modes of the major scale. We've been learning that. The 5 positional forms are the same. We just have to start in the right place to play the particular mode. The single octave ones are unique to each mode. And in a way, these are unique to each mode as well, but we can learn the 5 forms one time and just learn where to start within them. So that's one way to sort of understand it. And I've got these drawn up here with these numbers to match when we started with Aeolian and then moved on to Dorian and Phrygian and Lydian and Mixolydian, those ones that we've done so far. And then in the next lesson when we do Locrian, all of these overlap with the way these numbers are done. So I've done it that way so you can correlate that in your mind if you're going through each one of these lessons. It also is still a-okay to see it just like this, but otherwise you say, well, why didn't you number that one number 1? And that's why, because this is the numbering system that matches where we started. And so if I come over here, We've got scale form 4. Let's look at first how these 5 positions are sort of created and how we're just switching the strings that we're on, and then how they stack up next to each other along the fretboard. So starting here with number 4, which matches number 4 over there, I've got, and I'm going to do this in the key of A, so I'm just going to stick to the key of A like we used with the single octave forms. We've got scale form number 4 here, where that low root with form A starts on the bottom. So we've got that. Now from there, everything can be seen, just like we did with the single octave forms, as being shifted 1 string higher. So everything moved 1 string higher. We get to form 5 down here on the bottom of the board. And I put my index finger at the 12th fret of the 5th string, and I've got the scale there. Shift everything by another string, and we're up to scale form 1. My index finger at the 7th fret of the 4th string, and we've got scale form 1 there. And then everything shifted again. We got scale form 2. My index finger at the 2nd fret of the 3rd string to play the A. Also note that we have the low root on the 5th string, or 6th string at the 5th fret. Now this one then starts with form B first and goes to form A, and that's how that one works. So I'm just going to play it from there. You could also see the higher part down to that lower part. But if I start with my pinky, right here we'd have just like so. And then if we take everything 1 fret higher, my pinky goes to the 12th fret on that A on the 5th string, or my middle finger or index finger on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. But I'm going to play it from down low here. Just like that, and then we come around and we're right back to where we started. So this is how one way to see them, sort of how they just rotate from one string set to the next, starting with learning number 4. But this is how they stack next to each other along the fretboard, which can be really valuable. Now, we've been learning each of the modes in this way using 1 sharp. So we started with G major, which has 1 sharp, and we did A Dorian, which is another minor, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D Mixolydian. Now we're going to actually do E. E will be our example for the Aeolian, because that keeps us in that same key, and it keeps these stacked along the fretboard nice. So I'm going to switch to the key of E. Yeah, I'm going to put the roots on the key of E. So we start out here. I've got that E there, and we can play the E Aeolian mode right there in 2nd position. We got. Just like that. Now where our pinky was 3 frets higher, so up at the 5th fret, as we come up to this next mode, our index finger is going to go there, and we're going to have starting with scale form 1 on the high strings. Or you could look down and see how you could swap out and have your pinky come down to the 7th fret of the 5th string. You could also start it there. So if I start it there, just like that. Now where we had our pinky starting is going to be our index finger for form 5. So we'd have just like that. Where our ring finger ended up on string 3 is where our index could go again, which is at the 9th fret. There on the 3rd string, or my pinky can reach down to the 12th fret and start with form 2 and catch on that 6th string. So I'm going to do that. And then our index finger comes here for form 4, there at the 12th fret. Just like that. Where my ring finger was starts back over at the 14th fret with form 1 here. As simple as that, and then of course we could continue. So the forms go 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, and then they start over. So pretty cool how it stacks up. These are great just for getting under your fingers. We read in keys that use these scales sometimes. We also may improvise. I've learned them so I can improvise with them, write with them, and then just get down the technique. It's great with the technique. So, hope that helps. In the next lesson, we're going to look at the Locrian mode. So that'll be our 7th mode of the major scale. After that, we'll move on to the pentatonics, and we got lots of other scales to be learning here on Theory Thursdays. That's what's happening with our lessons right now on these Thursdays. We're learning different scales and modes that we use to improvise or just for technical reasons or to read melodies. Of course, the Theory and Technique book will be coming out very soon, very, very soon. The new updated version, which has lots and lots and lots of things. Probably the most extensive book out there on understanding how to play the guitar and understanding the fretboard from the theory side and from the technique side. So it's a great, great book with many updates from that first edition, which a lot of people loved. So excited to be bringing that out. And of course, there's over 1,000 videos on the channel. Lots of great ways to get help with various aspects of playing the guitar. So, and the other method books. So keep at it, keep having fun, take care, and we'll see you again.
If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.